Hello, I'm Sally from ProAlign and welcome to this chair-based class from our clinical Pilates series. All you'll need for this session is a chair that's sturdy, not on wheels, and some resistance band. So this can be tubing like I have with handles, or it can be the TheraBand that you may have got from your physiotherapy clinic. You may want to drink at hand as well. The lovely thing about this class is it can be done in the comfort of your own home. So let's get started. We're going to look initially at sitting posture. So when we come and sit on the chair, we want to think about having very wide sit bones and depth within the front of the hip creases. So maybe just readjust yourself, lift up, think of separating and widening your sit bones and sit back down again. We want to feel like we're nicely balanced on top of our sitting bones here. We can feel this alignment with a forwards and back tilt. So maybe just start here with rolling forwards and backwards off your sitting bones. From side on, it will look like this. Rolling forwards and rolling back. So I'll keep on changing my view as we go through the class. And then we want to finish sitting right on top of our sit bones again. We're going to take our awareness now to the upper chest or thorax, and that wants to be stacked right on top of our sitting bones or our pelvis. Often when we think to ourselves, sit up straight, we end up sticking the chest forwards and up. And what we find there is that we get reverse curves in the spine. So we often get a forwards thorax and a backwards lumbar spine. And that's the other way around than how we want it. So maybe just have a little sense of sinking into your breastbone, but lifting up from your tailbone. So that will encourage the in curve in the low back, and then a stack of your breastbone over your pubic bone. When we then want to think about the shoulders, we want to think nice and broad with our collarbones. So again, just watching that we're not squeezing them backwards, that we're thinking of breadth. Maybe coming back to thinking of our shoulder blade cape and just popping our shoulders on top of the rib cage and letting them float there with a sense of air in between the shoulder blades and the rib cage. We then want to go back to think of our visualization of some helium balloons, just lifting the base of the skull up. So checking in once again, we have mid-pelvis, even weight on our sits bones. We have a sense of lifting through the low back, or maybe lifting up from your tail. A sense of heaviness or relaxation through the rib cage, broad shoulders, and length at the back of the neck. This is unsupported sitting in spinal stack. We're going to look now at breathing in this position. So once again, we're going to look at our three-part breath. Starting off with a side-to-side breath into the low rib cage. So breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Just slowly and in your own speed. What we want to see here is even movement in the rib cage, left and right. So maybe check in and see what's happening in your rib cage. The next movement or direction of breath is going to be forwards and back. So place a hand on your low back and one on your belly. Breathing again. What we want to feel now is expansion in a forwards and back direction with our breath. Our third breath direction is up and down. So we're thinking of breathing from the throat all the way down to the pelvic floor. Having a motion a little bit like a bike pump or a cafetiere plunger. So we're thinking here of breathing up and down. You may even feel like you're gaining some height with your in-breath here, and then maybe losing your height a little bit with your out-breath. So now we have seated spinal stack, and we have our three-part breath. And this might be enough for you today, or this might be all that you want to be implementing into your day if you're at home working at a desk or office bound at a desk. We're going to be looking at some spinal mobility now in the chair. So we're going to start with some tucks and tilts of the pelvis. So first of all, slowly rolling back off our sitting bones, coming back into center, and then we're going to tilt forwards again. Tilting back, coming to middle, and tilting forwards. And just notice what happens to your low back or your lumbar spine as you do this. So as you come forwards, your lumbar spine should arch a little bit, and as you tuck under, it flexes a little bit. Remember, none of this should be causing pain. We just want nice fluid movement. I'm going to get you to then take your awareness into what the rib cage is doing. So as we tilt back, we want to sink into the rib cage a little bit, and as we lift up and come forwards, the rib cage will lift. So from side on, we're sinking, the rib cage drops, we come up, the rib cage extends. Now this is our pelvis and rib cage talking to each other in a fluid manner, which is what we want with our spinal movement. You can have your hand on your chest, or you might just rest your hands on your lap. Try and keep your eyes on the horizon for this exercise, and then you'll get some neck mobility as well. So my neck is lengthening and my neck is shortening. The next mobility exercise we're going to look at is for the thorax. With the pelvis fixed in a seated position, it isolates rotation into the thorax a little bit more. So we're going to start with some forward reaches. So this is in a bow and arrow motion in the arms. One arm reaches forwards and the elbow of the other arm reaches back. Try and again get a nice rhythmic motion happening. And I want you to think of leading from the shoulder blades. So we're really getting this extended reach happening. We can then reach to the sides. So you're going to reach away from you. Keep your sits bones even on the chair and feel an opening and loading into the side waist as you reach away. This is a lovely exercise to activate your core muscles because they love to be stretched sideways and in a twisting motion. Our final one is we're going to reach backwards in the chair. So we're reaching back on a diagonal, and here we're feeling an opening running from one shoulder all the way through to the opposite hip. So really unsticking our thoracic spine or rib cage. We can do the same mobilizer drill reaching up high as well. So we can reach up high to the ceiling. With this variation, we have a really nice opening down through the side waist. We're then going to reach to the sides again. So up high, again, keep your weight even on the chair. Make sure your bottom's not lifting. We're then going to reach in a diagonal pattern forwards. And we're then going to reach backwards on the chair, up and high. And then we'll come back and just have a check-in with your body again. So already you should feel a lot lighter and more loose. Coming now into forwards and backwards spinal motion with our seated forward roll down. The standing version of this is commonly used in our Pilates classes. We're thinking of segmental motion through the spine here. So I want you to start thinking of flexing or bending from the top of the neck. Then we're going to peel into the middle neck and then the low neck. And then just come up again. You might want to think of pressing your chin down on a sponge ball or a large ripe mango or something like that. We're then going to let this movement come into our thorax, which is our rib cage area. So we're bending here, coming back up again. Keep this motion slow and controlled, and visualize each one of your little spinal segments moving one upon the other as you curl down. If you want to and you feel safe, you can widen your legs a little bit and curl all the way down through your neck, thorax, and hang down between your legs. Maybe have a little bounce here in this position and then stack back up again. We're going to scoot back up again using the navel. So from side on, we sit up, curl down through the neck, thorax, into the low back, hanging down, maybe a little bounce, and then curling back up again into a high sitting position. Once more, high neck, mid leg, low, high thorax, mid low, and down into your low back. Allow the pull and heaviness of gravity in this position, and then slowly peel back up again. Staying with mobility, I think this is our last exercise, and this is to mobilize the shoulder blades. We're going to take our arms out to the side, and we're going to roll one arm over and allow the shoulder blade to follow, and then come back again. Other side, roll the arm and allow the shoulder blade to follow. So with this exercise, we're going to lead from the hand, and then it causes the arm to rotate in, and the shoulder blade comes all the way up and over. So we want a mobile shoulder blade here. You can see here that my thorax or rib cage follows this motion as well, and it feels really nice in the back of the rib cage to be moving like this. So these are your arm spirals. We're going to be looking now at our deep tummy activation. So in this seated position, check that you are in spinal stack and your legs are nice and relaxed. You're not gripping with the front of your thighs. We're going to start off by just floating the arms up to about 90 and lowering again. You may want to exhale as you float up, inhale and lower. Slow exhale, lift, inhale and lower. And what I want you to notice, if you can, is that mild connection in your deep tummy. If that's not coming on automatically for you today, maybe consciously activate your deep tummy first. So as the arms float up, you'll do your deep tummy cue, whatever that might be, and then release it again as you inhale. So maybe you're thinking of your hips coming together, some magnets, or you're thinking of a pelvic floor cue, maybe something like slow the flow. We're then going to come down and just put our fingers near the low part of your pelvis. And we're just going to bounce the arm up and down here. Now we're looking for lumbar multifidus activation here, which is part of your stabilizing team. The fingers are going to be just next to the pelvis, at the low part. There's two knobbles on the back of your pelvis, and you want your fingers sitting there. We're just going to see if we can feel the muscles very slightly fluttering on and off as the arm pulses up and down. This exercise is really just more for an awareness of your low back stabilizers. If you don't feel this at all, don't worry about it, it's fine. Okay, so we're going to start looking at adding in some leg motion now into our movement. We're going to start off with some foot circles. So ensuring again we're in our stack and our deep tummy is recruited, we're going to start by lightly drawing a foot circle on the floor and coming back again. And then onto the other side. So what we're looking for here is dissociation of the pelvis and the leg. Are we able to maintain a nice, soft, upright posture and move the leg around as we just trace the foot on the floor here? If you're working on a carpet, you just want to make sure your foot still contacts the floor, even though the friction might be a little bit harder. Check in with your pelvis, what's happening? Is it remaining nice and level? Or as your leg moves, are you finding that your hip is hitching or twisting as you go? We're looking for stability, even weight through your sitting bones. We're going to progress now and come into a knee float. So from here, imagine there's a spring tied onto your knee, and as you exhale, you're going to just float the knee up and then lower. Maybe stay on this side. So maybe sort of have that visual of being a marionette puppet. We may want to check back with our pelvis here. What you're aiming for is that the pelvis stays still. As this leg lifts, we don't want to see the pelvis roll back with it. We want to keep even weight with both of our sitting bones. We want to keep the pelvis shining forwards. And we want to think very deep into this hip crease. This is training our deep hip flexors. We'll come on to the other side. So it's our imaginary lift and down. Think of deepening into the hip socket and down. Thinking upright through the spine and down. Maybe back to our puppet again and down. Now you can continue with this, or we're going to add an arm in. We're going to do an opposite arm. So as the knee floats, we're going to have the arm floating up as well. Knee float, arm float. So this is increasing our movement complexity. We need to think about what we're doing a little bit more, and we need to challenge more through the pelvis and the rib cage. Make sure when you're moving your arms, you're thinking heavy through your shoulder blades. The shoulder blades are sinking down towards your back pockets. And again, checking in that your pelvis isn't tilting backwards. So you're not sinking like this as you lift the leg up. You're maintaining complete control of your pelvis. So coming now into a little bit more challenge for your abdomen. We're going to vary between a curling position and a leaning position. So we're going to start off with our curling position. So if we think of our three markers, pubic bone, navel, breastbone. As we start to tilt the pelvis back, our lower two markers come together. And then we continue to curl and our top marker comes together. We've rolled off our sitting bones now, and we're going to scoop forwards again and peel up, separating our three dots. So once again, we draw the tummy in, curl, and then continue to curl. We're going to hold, scoop forwards, and restack. Inhale, lift. Exhale, contract and roll back. Inhale, pause. Exhale, curl and come up. From side on, inhale, lift. Exhale, curl and back. Inhale, pause. Exhale, scoop up and forwards. And lift again from the low back, not the chest. Inhale, lift. Exhale, curl and back. Inhale, pause. Exhale, scoop forwards. We're going to add the lean now. So this time the spine stays straight. We inhale, lift. We exhale, just come off neutral. Inhale, pause. Exhale, come back up again. Inhale, lift. Exhale, come off neutral, and we maintain a straight spine. Inhale, pause. Exhale, come back up. Inhale, lift. Three dots stay the same. Lean back. Inhale, pause. Exhale, come back up. We're going to alternate. Exhale, curl. Inhale, come up. Exhale, lean. Inhale, come up. Tummy scoops as we come back. Releases as we come up. Tummy firms as we lean. Release to come up. So you might want to continue on with this motion, really connecting through the front of the body, varying a bent position and a straight position. Or we can add an arm. So we're going to curl back, sit up, arms forwards. We're going to lean back here, hold this position, take an arm to the side, center, arm to the side, center, return. Curl down, maybe sit and raise the arms. Lean, open to the side, return, side, return, sit up. We curl down, we release, come up, inhale, back to center, lean, arm to the side, arm to the side. Now we want to remember with both of these variations, the front of the hips, the hip flexors, they want to stay nice and soft. So especially as we come into this leaning position here, we want to make sure the connection and the stability is from the abdomen and we're not gripping on here at the front of the hips. If you are, don't go so far. Remember, we only need to come just off neutral. We don't need to be back here anywhere doing a huge lean. We can add in a knee fold as well with our lean if you want to. So we can come back again, do a tiny lift, lower, lift, lower, return. So that was that concept of having a little marionette puppet lift or floating up towards the ceiling and return. So this is another progression We need more stability here. Our tummy is working hard. And we want to make sure the tummy is not bulging either. As we lean back, float, and float. Now I'm not leaning back so far that I'm touching my chair. I'm always away from it by just a little bit. This next exercise looks at firing up the thighs a little bit, especially focus towards the inside of the knee or your VMO area. We're going to start off with our legs in parallel and underneath you. And I'm going to get you just to palpate or have your hand here on the either side of your knee, and your thumb is on the inside of that fleshy bit here. I want you to push down through the floor with that leg as if you were going to stand up. And you should feel the muscle become a little bit firmer under your thumb. We're going to hold here for 3 and then release. And then on to the other side. Push down through the floor and release. Pushing down through the floor and release. Drag down through your heel. Now some of you might even feel your glutes firing in as well. So we have glutes and inside of knee working together like best friends. So when you push down through your foot, you might feel your bottom and your inside knee work together, and that's great. And then release. You can do this same exercise in a wider sit. So we're at the front of the chair here. We're going to push down again and release. Push down again and release. So remember, we're looking for activity in this area of the knee. We're going to then move on from here and look at ankle mobility and calf strength. So we're going to do some seated raises here. Again, I'm staying in this wider sitting position, but you don't have to. We can work on our ankle flexibility here, sitting with our feet parallel. When you come up here, we're mobilizing into the toes. We're also looking to keep a nice centered ankle. So try and watch that you're not lifting and rolling out to the side, that you're managing to keep even pressure through your toes. So this is an ankle and toe mobilizer as well. Just keep pedaling through. Good. Now we're ready to start moving and integrating some of this together. We're going to be doing some forward reaches and a hover squat. With this exercise, we're going to lean forwards with a nice straight spine. So all the movement has to be here in the hip joints. Think very wide sit bones again. So we're going to be leaning forwards and then coming up. If you need to, you might want to bring your feet a little further back. Lean forwards, long spine, and then come back. Then we're going to take this into a small hover. So we're going to lean forwards again and just lift the thighs off and then come back down again. Now we only want to lift off about this much, that's about 1 inch. Lean forwards, keep continuing, reach through the shoulder blades until that brings you up and off the chair, and then lower back down again. Slowly tilting forwards, keep extending through the arms and shoulder blades until you hover, hold here, and then lower down. Now you want to watch from front on that when you come into your hover, your knees travel forwards over the feet. What we want to avoid is this view, with the knees ducking in, or even worse, one of them ducking in. So you want to be able to keep your feet nice and even on the floor, sink into your hip joints, imagine your tail lifting up behind you, and then hover. And we're going to hold this hover for 3 to 5 seconds and come back down again. A really good exercise for your lower limbs, thinking of firing up your glutes, firing up your quads, and getting some good even weight bearing down through your feet. And return, last one coming up, forwards tilt, hover. Remember, at any time with any of these videos, if you want to do more repetitions, you just pause and continue on in your own time. And if you want to go back and practice, again, just rewind and have another go. We're going to start now looking at some arm strengthening in sitting. So you'll need to grab your band. Now we're going to start off looking at your biceps here, or a pulling pattern. We're going to put the band around the underside of the foot. We'll keep our other one here for stability. Now we can either hold handles if we have them. If you don't have handles, we're going to hold the band like this, coming upwards through the thumb and forefinger. We want to have our upright spinal stack again. And then as we exhale, we're going to lift up, and as we inhale, we're going to lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Now I need a little bit more resistance, so I'm going to hold the actual bands instead of the handles. So I lift up and down. Your watch points here. You want to make sure your shoulder blades remain broad. So we don't want to see this happening. We don't want to see a loss of trunk control. We're thinking middle pelvis, even weight sit bones. As we exhale and draw the arms up, we're feeling this nice central zipping panel of our deep tummy connecting. Your neck wants to be long as you lift here, so just watch that it's not collapsing here. We want the shoulder girdle to remain broad so that we don't lift from the shoulders. Maybe think of keeping your arms away from the body as well. So you're lifting the load up and maybe aim towards your chin or your mouth. So we're going to be looking at about 10 to 15 repetitions here. Exhale, lift, scoop. Inhale, lower. Exhale, scoop. Inhale, lower. We're going to come now to the back of the arms, to the triceps. So just swap your foot here. Change the grip on your band so you're holding it more like horse reins. Sitting upright again, and we're going to have the arms parallel to the rib cage. And as we exhale this time, we straighten the arms and then we release them. Straighten and release. Keep the upper arms still and parallel with the rib cage. Be careful that you're not starting to do a straight arm pull here. We're bent, straight, bent, and again, constantly checking in, making sure we've got no extra activity in the neck, in the face, shoulders are broad, upright sitting, small curve low back, nice and relaxed rib cage. Exhale as I pull, inhale as I release. I'm going to swap back again, change my handling, and come back to bicep curls. Now, I just looped my band around my foot here. So it's gone around once, and then I'm holding again. So that's made my band a little bit firmer, so I have more resistance now for my bicep curls. It can also help prevent the band flicking off your foot while you're exercising. So again, scooping the band up towards my chin. After my reps, I'm going to then repeat looking at my triceps. Make sure my band is the same width. Extend back, release. This is a really good exercise to help tone up the back of the arms. I know it's an area that my ladies always want to be working on in their classes. Nice broad shoulders, scooping back, release. You can do another set of these if you want to. So 3 sets of this pair, front arm and back arm. This next exercise, we're going to be looking at a pressing or pushing motion. So again, if you have the handles, we're going to hook in here through our thumb and first finger. If you don't have handles, just grab the end of your band like this. We're going to always have a trial and make sure we've got the right tension here. This is purely a muscling up exercise. We don't really have much preload here, so you don't want too much tension on your band. We find our upright stack, and as we exhale, you're going to push the band up and forwards. Now just notice with this, I'm not going completely overhead. So imagine putting something on a high shelf in front of you. The other things we want to watch for is that we can maintain a nice upright spine position, that we're not leaning backwards to try and draw it up, and also we're not lifting from the shoulder here. You still want to have a sense of a heavy shoulder blade drawing back into your opposite back pocket. Nice big gap here. So picture some large chandelier earrings filling up that gap between your shoulder and ear. We're going to vary where we're pushing now, so we're going to come out to the side. This is very similar to your warm-up, your thoracic warm-up. So we're pushing out to the side now. Then we're going to push overhead. Again, my arm is slightly in front of me, but this overhead press brings about some more movement in the spine. There's another reason why I've kept the band on the lighter side, is so that I can get this fluid movement left-right. And then I'm going to rotate. So I'm reaching and pushing to the far corners now. So we've done a lot of pushes if you've been keeping up with me, and your shoulders should be getting a little bit fatigued now. We're going to change our motion now and do a seated lat pull. So if you know that exercise, you're holding onto a bar in the gym and you pull the bar down to rest just in front of your collarbones here. You're going to be working your lats, which are these big muscles that sit here on the side of the rib cage. We're going to start holding our band quite narrow and again on that top shelf. As we exhale, pull the band wide and down and get it to rest in front of your breastbone. And then inhale and release. Exhale, pull down with the elbows, get it to rest on the breastbone and release. Now what we're looking for with the arms here, they finish elbows down and then they reach arms up. What we can add on if you want to is an overreach. So from here, really extend the shoulder blades up, drop the shoulder blades and continue. Reach up, drop the shoulder blades and continue. If you want more power in your band, just double it up, because these are big muscles. So we reach up here, pull down and wide and release again. Exhale, drop your shoulder blades, pull down and wide and release again. Rover reach, drop your shoulder blades, pull down and wide and release. Up, pull down and wide. You may find as you do this, you get a little bit of a lift in the chest. That's okay. That works quite nicely with the action of the lats pulling down. We're staying with upper limb strength work and we're going to look at rowing, which is for the back of the body, and some chest work as well. So we're going to pop our band underneath both feet. If this doesn't make you feel very safe, just pop it under one foot, it's fine. And we need to flex the foot up a little bit. We're going to sit upright again in our chair, and if you want to, you can actually lean forwards a little bit. Remember with that lean, it comes from the hips, so we envisage a skewer running through our hips and we're just pivoting over that skewer. As we exhale here, we're going to draw the band back. Inhale, release. Exhale, draw back. So I'm taking my elbows back alongside my rib cage. At the back of my body, my shoulder blades are coming and joining at the back. So the two middle parts of my shoulder blades sliding around my rib cage and joining together in my back. Again, watch points. Just make sure the shoulders don't creep up. The shoulders are almost, or the arms are almost going to rub against your rib cage here. So this is a close body row. And we want to feel this exercise here, in this area. Variation 2 in our rowing is a wide row. So this time, we take the elbows back and release. So now my arm is a lot wider. It has a different angle to it. But again, I should feel this at the back of the shoulders. I want to constantly make sure and check in that my neck isn't becoming involved. I'm not looking like I'm straining and pulling. I'm maintaining strength through the spine, length through the spine, and opening my elbows back. So once I've done about 12, 15 of those, I'm going to take my awareness to the chest. So I'm going to put my band around my shoulder blades and tuck it under my armpits. I'm going to scoop my arms out, forwards, and release. It's a little bit like a breaststroke arm in reverse. So it comes out, forwards, comes in. My shoulder blades will reach around my rib cage at this end and my little fingers touch. Come in, scoop out, round, come in. Scooping and return, scooping and return. So we should feel this in our pectoral area or in our chest. The second variation here is pushing. So we're just going to change our grip a little bit and we're going to shoot the arms forwards and return them in. So maybe think that you're punching something ahead of you. Shooting the arms forwards, return. As we come through this set, I want you to check back in again with your body. Are you still nice and even on your sitting bones? Do you still have a middle pelvis? Can you feel your deep tummy connect before you push? Remember, we want to stabilize before we move. Are you feeling a slight counter push back into the band with your ribs? Or is the band pulling your thorax with you? You want to be firm and push. Is your neck nice and relaxed and your eyes looking forwards? Good. Now I want you to go back and set up and do your rowing exercise again. So have a second set of your close body row and then a second set of one of your chest exercises. So we've done 2 rowing variations and 2 chest variations. This next exercise is really quite dynamic, requires you getting on and off the chair a few times. So maybe just have a check and make sure you're in a safe environment before going forwards. Also make sure you have a nice strong hover squat. We're going to start off holding the band in front of us and we're going to pull the band wide and release again. So again, we want to think broad collarbones, deep tummy connect, then pull, release, length at the base of the neck, release. Now some of you may want to stay here and that's fine. That's working the back of the arms, it's working the shoulder blades, it's helping to open your chest. Really nice exercise to counter sitting all day. If you want to add into this, we're going to have our hover squat and then come up and stand, come down, hover, feel the chair, release. Forwards, come up, fly, come down, release. Forwards, fly, down, release. We're going to then do some offset footwork and change the pattern of our arms. So we're going to have 1 foot forwards, and when we stand, it's going to be the opposite arm that's high. So we're going to come forwards and come on a diagonal. Come down. Alter your arm. So we're adding some variability into what our arms are doing in a staggered offset sit to stand. Now, what we need to watch for in this offset sit to stand position, that once again, both knees come forwards, and that as you come up, you're not scooping around to the side and losing your pelvic stability. Swap legs, maybe try a little hover first. So I've got my other leg in front now, diagonal pull, lower, diagonal pull, lower, diagonal pull, lower, and this energizes the back of the body really nicely. So it gets your back muscles speaking to your glutes nicely. the team of muscles that stabilize the pelvis. Good. So we had feet parallel and then offset foot variation, combining glutes and the muscles at the back of the body. We're going to look now at some standing work using the chair as a support. So you want to turn your chair around so you can place your fingertips on the end of it, and we'll just move our band to the side. We're going back to looking at our ankles and our feet again and looking at ankle stability. So just with light touch here on the chair and a good spinal stack, we're going to come up onto our tippy toes and lower. So we elongate up and lower. For this one, we're going to keep straight legs. And once again, similar to part one when we were sitting, we're looking for an even ankle. So we want to make sure when we come up that this is centered, not leaning in and not leaning out. Maybe imagine floating up from the top of your head. There's a spring attached on the top of your head to the ceiling. You're floating up and down. You might want to add a variation here. Rise up, bend the knees, lower and return. Rise with straight legs, bend the knees, lower, return. Rising up, bend, lower, return. Rising up, bend, lower, return. This is a great mobilizer for your toes and also challenges your balance. We're going to look now at some lunges. So that's a split stand start. And again, I've got the chair here for some support. I'm going to take the majority of my weight on the front foot, and my rear foot, the heel is lifted. I can put my hand on my pelvis for some extra support, and then we're going to lower down towards the floor and come up again. Now I'd like you to think with these lunges that you're going to kneel. We're not actually going to go down, but that's the thought that you're going to have. I'm going to kneel and come up again. Just go down as far as you are able to. Remember, this should be pain-free. So if your knees are a little bit sore, maybe don't go down so far. We want to feel under our hands that the pelvis stays level as we come up and down with our lunging, and that we don't see this, a drop or a rotate. So with our hand on the chair, we slowly come down and we come up again. My lunge is quite short here. It could be a lot bigger if I wanted it to be. It's totally up to you. So down for 2 and come up again. And then we would repeat on the other side. Now, I'm going to do the standing series on one side first of all, and we'll do the whole thing on the other side then. We're going to look now at strengthening the hip area. All of this can be done without a band, or if you want to, you can tie your band around your thighs. So, I'm going to loop it around in a knot. If you want something that's a bit more secure, you might want to put on our Bandit's lower leg product as well, which is also on the website. What I'm looking at here is adding a little bit of resistance. So I'm going to come and bring the knee forwards, bring it back again, to the side and behind. Now as I go through these 3 movements, I want to be looking constantly into pelvic stability. So I want to avoid tucking, hitching and arching as I go through. I want to think deep into my hip crease. I want to think of working the sides of the hips and then squeezing my bottom as the leg goes behind. So the leg comes up. We did this in the sitting series. The leg comes to the side, and make sure it's in line with your body and not forwards. And then we're going to squeeze our bottom. You're thinking of kicking the door shut behind you. We lift forwards, to the side, and backwards. Forwards, side, and back. Now this works the moving leg, but it also works the standing leg as well. So we're getting some really good pelvic and hip stability work in our non-moving leg also. From here, we're going to look at a single leg squat. So again, have your chair support. We'll just have the leg behind us. Make sure the pelvis is level. pubic bone, navel, breastbone stacked. We're just going to bend the knee a little bit and come up. Now it's up to you how low you go. You might want to just do a tiny little bend. And have a think back to the previous session when we were looking at the muscles here on the inside of the knee working. This is how all of this fits in. So we should have deep tummy working, feel the inside of the knee working. We should feel your butt cheek working a little bit. Remember, they're best friends. And by now, the outside of your hip should be aching as the muscles are continuing to work here. I've got my hands here on my pelvis, just making sure it's staying steady and that I'm not dropping. That's a loss of control. Our next exercise here is a skater. I really like this exercise. You can do it face on, or if you want to, you can get down onto the side of your chair in quite an active skating position. So we're going to think that we're on a scooter and we're going to be driving the legs back into the side. Now the leg motion is coming in a diagonal pattern backwards. So if you imagine you're standing on a compass, your foot direction, southeast and southwest. Again, the pelvis stays level. So I'm alternating my legs here, and I'm holding onto my chair with a long spine, imagining that I'm powering through the park here in Sydney. If you want to, you can stay side on to your chair and just work one leg. Maybe you want to vary east, southeast, south, east, southeast, south, and vary up what your leg was doing. So this should really be having a good burn now into the side of your hips. You will then want to repeat the same exercise series on the other side. I'm just going to do a couple of reps here. So we had forward lift, side, back, forward, side, back, deep into the hip, level hip, backwards hip. Continue on with your repetitions here. We were then looking at a single leg squat. So from here, small bend, come up, small bend, and we were thinking long spine, level pelvis, wide foot, feeling the muscles on the inside of the knee working, feeling our bottom muscles working, and feeling the side of our hips working as they stabilize. And then we came into our scooter. So if you were side on, we would scooter again in this direction, maybe varying side, diagonal, back, side, diagonal, back. And that's our series again on the other side. These last few exercises are quite advanced, so if you're happy moving about and you want to move on, then let's go. We're going to again look at a rowing motion. So you're going to pop your band under your foot, place it next to the chair, and we're going to come into our low lunge position again with hand support on the chair. So I've got weight through this hand, a long body, and most of my weight is on my front leg. I'm holding my band double. From here, as I exhale, I'm going to do a row and then release. Rowing up, release. I keep my eye line down and I twist through my rib cage or through my thorax. I'm getting a twisting motion here. Continue on. So we're getting this drawing back of the shoulder blade. Same as your rowing that you did earlier on your chair. Pull the shoulder blade back, row, release. Pull back, row, release. And then you come on to the other side. Swap the foot. Coming over again, hand support, row, row, row. So I've got strong support here through my leading glute, and I'm pulling back through the shoulder. To counter that, we're going to do a push exercise. We're going to do some planking on the chair. So make sure your chair is very safe. We're going to put our hands down flat in the middle and stack our shoulders over our hands. Then take one foot back and then the other. And we're holding a plank position here. We're going to hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring the legs in again. Offload. One foot back, then the other. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring one leg in and then repeat. Now, if you want more of a challenge, we're going to drive the knee in to different directions. I'm actually going to change my hand grip on the chair now, but you don't have to. So I'm going to hold on the side of my chair, again checking it's safe. From here, I'm going to draw the knee up and bring it towards my chair. Now notice my body is moving more now, this is more dynamic. I'm then going to bring my knee to the outside of my chair. And then I'm going to bring it across. So that's 3 different variations here. Driving the knee in, to the outside and across. All working with a strong, solid push pattern. Your last exercise with a push pattern is going to be push-ups. If you're strong and you're already quite good at push-ups, you can do them down here. So this would be an incline push-up, where we lower down and we push up again. Now usually we're not going to go to full range because there's something in the way most of the time. If you want to do your push-ups a little bit easier, you just turn the chair around, hold on to the end of it, check it's solid, and I'm going to bring my chest in. So I'm lowering my breastbone down, I'm allowing my shoulder blades to move as I do my push-up. If you're used to push-ups, you can vary again, maybe lifting one leg off, maybe taking it behind you. Just make sure your weight comes down on the chair, over the top of the chair, and you're not pushing the chair away from you. Otherwise you'll do a push-up, followed by a face plant. I hope you've enjoyed this chair series. It's a great way to show you how you can exercise in the safety and comfort of your own home. Thank you.